welcome everybody. As a friendly reminder, go ahead and share out the room. Share the link with your friends. Let's try to get as many people in here as we can. We've already got a decent crowd, but for those of us who don't know, maybe we're listening after the fact, I'm going to run through a quick introduction to who and what the Divi project is. Our blockchain project started in 2017, and we've been up and running in terms of the blockchain since September of 2018. And excuse me, the goal of the project is to make crypto easy and accessible to everyone, everywhere. Recently, we've released some awesome updates to the Divi wallet, including the buy functionality, and we're also continuing to work on Divi DeFi, but we've got some updates on some different things, and I think, as I mentioned, the Divi wallet and the buy, I think I can turn it over for some updates in terms of Simplex.
Well, yeah, everybody received this brand new wallet on Monday, so if you haven't downloaded the new wallet, either on Play or the Apple Store, make sure that you have. It's got the buy option now available, where it's been offline for a little while this integration occurred. If you have it now, just know that there's lots of work being done on the overall improvement in the Simplex integration. As you know, if you have an Android phone, it's quite a bit more complicated with the many hundreds of layouts and versions of Android out there. So all those wonderful improvements that are being worked on are going to be coming in iterations as we see this rollout happen over this next few months, not including, of course, all the tons of back-end work, right? There's a lot of things going on that don't necessarily you see, but there's a lot of energy, and Rob can talk about that. There's a lot of energy going on into the overall improvement of the wallet. I think one thing that we would talk about as Ranuk and I were speaking about yesterday, currently, so today as we speak, there are no fees. So that's currently, there are no fees by Divi Labs on the Simplex integration. So it's only Simplex that's doing that. So yeah, there's lots of things going on that we could speak about there. Yep.
I'm always fascinated that you don't do voice work like for the radio. It's unreal to me. Hey, so
there's a story there. That's why I'm called the voice. But anyway,
I figured there was something.
There is something.
So that would presumably, since we don't take any fees, presumably that's got to make us the cheapest wallet out there for buying Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Divi, I assume.
That would be true. We're at least super competitive in that area. Or obviously, it's just Simplex. They're doing the conversion and the transfer from your fiat, your credit or debit into whatever cryptocurrency that you're going to buy. So as you know, it's just there are fees from the credit card processors, and that's just what happens. So you got to have some fees, but they're currently, so today as we're speaking, there are no fees from Divi.
Yeah, cool. I don't think I have anything to add to that. Anybody else?
Divi Labs, I should say. Not
yeah,
Divi. Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
It's over to you to talk about DAOs. Yep, Rob.
Nobody has a question about it or complaint or just questions.
I have complaints.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
It's funny because I feel I'm not as new as I was, but I still feel like like an internal observer, like of seeing how things are happening, and it's weird. You said it right. There's still this flurry of activity that is impossible. I mean, I tried with those 3 blog posts. I tried to relate it how it is on the inside to the outside, but unless you see it for yourself, it's really tough. I mean, there's just people working a tremendous amount of hours to get this stuff done. And it's not easy, but and it's also very hard to communicate.
It's talking about that. I don't know if you've mentioned it on the past shows, but you were talking about the development of the dev blog, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I think the community really engaged. because I will say this, I am always for the community. That's been my push from late 2017 on to today. There are things about the wallet that I will blatantly say suck. I think certain things suck. And I say these things to the team, and so does Neeks, and so does Herman, and so do you. So the things that you guys experience that are great, we see are great. The things that are difficult, we see that are difficult, and those things are high priorities to resolve, especially when it comes down to user experience, right? That's the key thing. You just don't see it. You don't see the angry voice calls or something like that. You don't hear about it because I'm not like that.
Yeah, and also in the alpha and beta rounds, I mean, we see it, we know it. We want to use this too. We but we have making choices to get stuff out there and improve rather than just waiting for perfect. I'd rather we didn't do that. I'm glad we're doing. We knowingly are releasing it functionality as we can and improving.
Iteratively, right? I think that's it. I've been stressing that, and we really have moved strongly, almost purely in that direction. So as things are upgraded and changed or improved, you'll see a release. And as that's being released, another thing is being upgraded, updated, and improved. It took us a long time to do this modification for Simplex. Obviously, I'm not a dev. I support the community, but I also support the dev team, right? You guys know this. So from a programming perspective, I can program, but not what they do. My point being is that that as they see these little pain points, Neegs, of course, is really driving that, and you'll see much quicker releases coming out. So it's going to be nice.
Cool. We got a little off topic there, but that's okay.
That's all right. I'll ramble.
Yeah, let's crack on. We've got a lot to cover today.
Ryan, you want to take us to our next subject?
Yeah, I think I started with Simplex, but I think I was supposed to start with the DAO updates.
You were, and I was feeling left out.
I apologize.
So
it's like it's DAO.
Yeah.
Voice.
So just quick update on DAO. We had 2 votes last time about whether purchased NFTs burn after use. So they're one-time use. That passed for both proposal and for voting NFTs. So, and again, just in case people are new here, this DAO is being formed to create this autonomous organization to kind of eventually direct the foundation. And so we're developing it right now. And then it came up with a mechanism, which is you need to own some eDivi to start. And that part works right now. You need to own 1 just to participate now. But when it's been running for real, you need that. But you also need, you'll also need to get voting and proposing NFTs. If you run a vault, you will just be granted there will be some setup there, but you'll be granted a voting and a proposing NFT of a tier that is appropriate for the amount of money you have vaulted. But we thought that people should be able to participate even if they don't have vaults, so you can just buy them also. But those are now one-time use. So we can, with that freedom or with that knowledge, let's say, with that in place, we can discuss a whole bunch of other stuff. For example, like how much those are going to cost. We can also later decide what platform we're going to be doing this on. Right now we're using a tool called Snapshot, which is just like part of having a DAO. But there's a few platforms out there that we can put the tool set for the whole DAO onto, and you decide that. I think there's one called Aragon. There's one called, I think it's Metropolis or Colony. I think it, or Meta Colony, one of those two. There's a few of them out there. And so we need to decide that. We need to figure out how we're going to send up the funds wallet for the DAO. There is a wallet right now associated with it, but the DAO needs to own it and how it gets approved and so forth. Time limits for proposals, like, a proposal could stay up there forever, or, we don't want a system by which someone can spam 1,000 proposals a day. We want to put in some controls on that. And maybe, and there's some fun stuff to do, kind of like voting on NFT images and so forth. So that's all coming now. And now we can do, nothing is really related to anything else at this point that I can think of. So we can do multiple votes at once. So as of today, I'll put a couple of these into there. And then we're going to, just continue on this pace of doing, 1 to 3 votes a week. On Fridays, I'll put them up. On Sundays, we'll start the voting. So if you're not in the DAO, you should be in the DAO by then. There's a channel in Discord. The first post in that channel tells you how to do it. But once a vote starts, you can't then join and vote on that. So if you really want to start voting on some of the fun stuff we're doing here, get in there and get qualified for it. So that's that. As I said, we got those votes approved, and we're going to have more per round starting now, and then we're going to try to build this thing. So that's kind of where we are.
And NFT Solutions came up on stage. I didn't know if he had a question about DAOs.
Yeah, I had a question. So when it comes to basically getting the NFTs for the vaults that are running, is there in the future going to be any way to link your vaults with what you have provided to a liquidity pool? I mean, because that's part of your portfolio. So what if you had, a silver node worth, 300,000 that you were staking, and then you had 300,000 locked up in a vault? Would you have 600,000, total as far as voting power, or however we're going to call it, or is it basically just what's going to be staked in a vault is the only thing that's going to apply?
So I definitely don't have any answer that says it will always be like this written in stone. DAOs aren't like that. They're intended to be iterative, and they're intended to evolve. So as it is right now, we're going to build a way to make it relative to vaults. And then later, when this is really autonomous, this is really you guys doing this, and it's not really, me putting this together. We need to get it so that it's really you guys and no influence from us at all. Once we get there, you guys can propose whatever you want.
Okay. That'll work.
So as it starts,
I think that I wanted to say everything about blockchain is like that.
Yeah, it really is.
It's not, but nothing is permanent except the transactions are immutable. So what we think about and talk about today, maybe if obviously the community wants as a whole, can be tomorrow. And then, of course, what is tomorrow like? Well, who knows what the ideas are?
Yeah.
It's great.
I definitely do not want to go for an end result because I don't think there is one. I just want to go for what can get us up off our knees and running. And yeah, when that's there, go for it. Propose how it gets done and so forth. So that's, any reason why coins are locked up should definitely give you some power in the DAO. I totally agree with that. But let's just get this working, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Roger.
Okay. Anything else on DAO? Moving on.
Yeah, I think we can move on to the Web3 series.
Yeah, that's great. So talking about things that are coming up in the future. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah, okay, cool. I wasn't sure because I was talking.
You went to get coffee.
And so we're talking about.
I would step in for him, but he really spent a lot of time on this, and it's really fair to let him speak it.
Wait.
So where did he go? He was just chatting.
I can hear him. So you can't hear him? I hear him. I hear him perfectly. So it's you, Rob.
I hear a nuke.
You do?
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to stop talking. Let's let Ranook talk. Go ahead, Ranook.
Okay. Perfect. So talking about what's coming up, and something that we've talked about in the last few weeks and months is obviously our push towards Web3 and getting loads of businesses to kind of come and work with us to kind of supercharge everything we're doing, which is obviously going to help our products and our features. So what we want to do is like take all of you on this journey with us, where we kind of talk through what Web3 is about, and the idea is that we push at least one blog article per week. So we start with the one about what is Web3, the differences between Web2 and Web3, the challenges, the security and privacy, and how it's going to benefit you. So all of these are going to land at least one at a time. For the ones who might have already been to the website, you might have seen there's more than one. We just didn't want to leave just one blog post on the website. So have a read. Let us know if you have any questions, and also, if there are other things that you want us to talk about and want to know about, absolutely let us know, and we'll get that going. And another thing we also mentioned last week is about having this kind of community kind of fireside chat. We will so I'll work with Rob to kind of plan that and share that with you all as well. So maybe that's in Divi World in Spatial. We can all get together and you guys can ask, all of us, Nick, any of the team about any questions you have. So have a read, and then anything else, let us know. That's me.
Well, if nobody has questions about the Web3 series, Rob, take us away with a roadmap update.
Sure. That's hilarious. I absolutely could not hear him at all. The last few minutes was a complete silence for me. All right. Well, anyway, so roadmap, it's coming along. I really want to get this out there. There's a lot of new stuff in here. So I am just going to kind of confer some of the stuff we already have. And so no, I shouldn't say all light papers, but light papers generally say, here's a problem, and here's a kind of a light version of what our solution is. The problem that we are addressing is relatively vast, and the solutions by which we are addressing it is also vast. It's beyond a cryptocurrency wallet. It still relies on Divi and the Divi blockchain, but there's a lot more that needs to be made easy than our wallet. Let me just read some stuff that is in the light paper. So right now, the problem with crypto, every crypto project out there foretells a day where we won't need government currency by fiat, and how they will bank the unbanked, and transfers of money will be virtually free, and their smart contract system can handle safe, decentralized governance of interactions between parties. However, the reality remains quite different. Despite being around for over a decade, the world of cryptocurrencies remained fraught with challenges that continue to inhibit its widespread adoption. Some of these difficulties include high transaction costs. The cost of transacting in cryptocurrencies, especially on the two main blockchains, remains prohibitively expensive. Unless you're transferring $1 million, of course. But for most people, it's still expensive. This issue persists even when users remain within the ecosystems of the blockchains. So, not to mention going from blockchain to fiat, or backwards, or chain to chain. Susceptibility to abuse. The crypto environment remains vulnerable to exploitation, particularly regarding custodialization and poorly written smart contracts that enable thieves to execute rug pulls or steal funds. Limited utility in corporate and government markets. Despite growing interest in cryptocurrencies, their application within corporate and government sectors remains limited. And finally, persistent privacy concerns. Most internet users continue to rely on Web2 systems, where sacrificing personal privacy is the norm in exchange for access to services. Even when privacy is an option, it is often an opt-out scenario rather than an opt-in. These are the four. These are the four main areas that we're trying to address. As I said, this is vast, and each of these obviously has tendrils in lots of areas. So that's how you can understand the problem statement. The way that we're going to be addressing them is in 5 major respects. The first part of that is the digital assets wallet. So this is what you guys are already familiar with, right? And not just ours, all those cryptocurrency wallets or digital asset wallets. They have cryptocurrencies. They have they have coins. They have tokens. They have NFTs. There's Web3 browsers in them, and so forth. But there's more digital assets than those, right? So as an example, NFT or not, there are game assets. There are points with various corporations or organizations. There are, well, those are the two that are coming to my mind. I know there's a bazillion more, right? So there are other assets that we could hold that are digital, and not necessarily the few things that cryptocurrencies are addressing. So we want to be able to expand into those because those have utility on other platforms. For example, loyalty points with a company, or with your credit card or whatever. Those are things that would be nice to store in here and be able to use elsewhere. Everything. So like right now in your phone, you've got an app for everything, right? I know I do. I'm sure you do too. You've got your United app. You've got your, some app for your, marina, or I don't know, whatever else you have. There's all of these things, and there's games and so forth. All of them have points, and it'd be nice to be able to, as we grow and grow, have a central place where all those kind of different digital assets are held. Therefore, they could be traded and moved. So that's one thing. That's the thing that you're mostly familiar with right now. That's all we really have is the digital assets wallet. But what we're going to be moving into is, so that's one of the ways that that's one of our tools that are going to help with these problems. Match that with 4 other things, which is a digital identity platform, which is a single place that I've talked about it before, where it acts as a proxy for you against the world there. So you can really only do this in Web3. And so the idea is that your wallet or your phone or our software acts as your identity towards other things. Now there are aspects of this already out there. MetaMask is one example of part of this. But MetaMask doesn't talk to everything. It just talks to the chains that it works on. So we want to be able to use the same sort of idea and spread it out with all of the various companies and organizations that we end up working with. Loyalty program provider, I just hit on that, right? That's part of how you can become inclusive, or make your loyalty points inclusive to your customers and to other businesses that you want to work with. There's a number of Web3 and cryptocurrency kind of ideas that are applicable here that are not being used at all. Collateralized NFTs is one. Points that earn is another. So there's a couple of things that we would do in there. And then wallet as a service is a 4th one. So the idea there is really that as we work, and part of the reason why these guys have spent so much time modularizing our code and making it so that it is more easily extensible is so that we can extend it, is so that we can work with a company or an organization and give them a form of the wallet that works for them with their features. And we don't, and it's not all the code isn't like intermingled together. Like we want to get it apart so that they can take the features they want, add the features that they want, and still have our wallet. Finally, the important point here is the blockchain is going to grow, right? We are looking into, right now we're going to see a little spurt in growth in terms of feature set coming up with subscriptions, with the time lock stuff and the escrow stuff. Those are some, the way our lead dev puts it, are pre-built smart contracts. So they are contracts, but they're not like you can program them. They're already pre-built, but they're utilizable for different aspects of implementing of these things that we're talking about. And later, more importantly, we're pushing towards sidechains where we'll be allowed to do far more customizable things, either directly or putting in a platform that allows programmability. So that is all tied together. So all of this kind of leads back. Now, keep in mind, this is super high view. As you go through the light paper and the roadmap, you'll see that each of these things has been broken down into more things, which we will be talking about in the future. But so this is just kind of like a little preview of how Divi Labs is going to be expanding and how these areas that we're going to be injecting our services into are going to look. And this is and how to go back to these problem statements that we are trying to deal with. So we're trying to improve the utility, corporate, and government markets. The susceptibility to abuse, it has a lot to do with custodialization. Almost, what is it, like 95% of the time, that's the issue. And so that's a lot to do with the fact that the means by which we implement this stuff is always focused around non-custodialization. You'll see sidechains have a big impact on this relative to the way other people do it. So that is the high-level stuff. I think in the future, maybe Renuk, we had talked about kind of having a little spatial thing or whatever, where we dive down deeper. Maybe we'll spend an hour just on that. So you can look forward to that. We're just we're not ready to do that quite yet. But now you can sort of see, hopefully, that we're expanding out into these areas. These are not that different than what was proposed a while ago, but the difference here is I didn't give it to you today, but the difference here is there's detail now around all of it. And that's coming up when we release all this stuff on our website, roadmap, and light paper. I think I'm done yammering.
Well, Rob covered a lot there. Did anybody have any questions?
He did a voice job there.
Okay, moving on.
Well, I was going to say, go ahead, Nuke.
No, I was going to say perfect. That's bang on time with 1 minute to go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we do have Mike coming up with a question. Welcome, Mike. Unmute yourself and
Yay.
Welcome.
Time locking. I just barely heard that, and I'm curious what that's about.
It's I said that right, voice. I said that correctly, right, voice?
You have to refresh what that was surrounding. I'm sorry.
I was just talking about subscriptions and escrow, and the feature that enables that I thought was called time locks. Am I wrong?
Yeah. So there's time locks, time locks in the blockchain itself. That's correct. So
Okay.
So you can do things based upon time. So sometimes we think that a transaction, well, we know ETH has contracts on it, right? Well, so does Bitcoin and so does Divi. It's just not exactly the same way. So what he's describing is an ability to be able to create a transaction that has time-sensitive features or functions that are enabled based upon both time and fulfilling certain obligations. That's built into Divi and it's built into Bitcoin. It's not like Ethereum, but we're going to be maximizing some of those features. I don't want to say too much because I'll probably reveal a little bit more than. How about this? You guys, if you've been following my Twitter, you see that I'm doing the beta basher testing where I'm having the fun with the Red Dragon. And that is the new engine that we're working on, which is going to be the foundation for nearly everything that Rob is talking about. Yep. So there's a lot of nerd stuff in there. If you want to ever have a concierge with me, we'll have another hour-long call. This is not the place for it, but I will happily talk with anyone, again, on a concierge call or even a Zoom that's just set up separate, and we can go over all the nerdy stuff. And you may not care about the nerdy stuff, but if you do, I can share the nerdy stuff.
Yeah, I probably don't care enough to have an hour-long call about it, but
you have 5 minutes. I will happily do that.
All right. Anything else on the kind of roadmap stuff. But that's,
All right. Or any
basic.
questions on anything in general?
Yeah. Wow,
Going
you're gonna
once.
wrap it up then. That's good.
Going once, going twice, sold. All right. Well, thank everybody for joining us. And if you're listening after the fact, thank you for listening. And yeah, I'll let everybody else get their final thoughts in.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, nothing more from me. Thanks again for joining
Alrighty.
and have a nice weekend.
Fantastic.